They never saw your worth. They ghosted you, betrayed you, ignored you, discarded you like an afterthought. They closed the door in your face. They said you weren't good enough. And maybe, for a moment, you believed them. But what if I told you that rejection isn't a curse? What if the pain you felt wasn't the end of your story but the beginning of your awakening? What if rejection was the greatest gift life ever gave you? Let's rip open that wound. Not to hurt you, but to show you what's hiding underneath. Because rejection, from a Stoic lens, isn't punishment. It's redirection. A violent shove from the gods to pull you back onto your path. It's pain forged with purpose. And if you have the guts to look it in the eye without flinching, it can transform you into something untouchable. 1. The world doesn't owe you anything. Let's start with something most people can't handle. You were never entitled to the love you wanted. You were never promised the job, the opportunity, the applause, the yes. That person who walked away, they were never yours to begin with. That dream that collapsed, maybe it was built on sand. It sounds brutal, because it is. But the Stoics, men like Marcus Aurelius Seneca, Epictetus, would have smiled at this truth. Don't hanker after what you don't have, Marcus once wrote. Instead, fix your attentions on the finest and best that you have, and imagine how much you would long for these if they weren't in your possession. In simpler words, stop crying over what left. Start sharpening what's still here. Rejection is life's reminder that nothing is owed to you. And that's liberating, because once you accept that truth, you stop waiting, you stop begging, you stop bleeding for validation, you start building. 2. Burned bridges light the way. Remember the last time someone rejected you? Not a tiny no, but a brutal, humiliating, soul-splitting no. A friend who vanished when you needed them most. A lover who ghosted you after you gave them everything. An employer who smiled in your face and threw your resume in the trash. You didn't just feel disappointment. You felt abandonment. You felt rage, confusion, shame. But what happened next? That fire? That cold clarity in your chest? That was your awakening. The bridge behind you was burning. And for the first time, you realized you could walk alone. That's the paradox. Rejection hurts because it strips away your illusions. It makes you stare into the mirror. No filters, no comforting lies. It shows you who you really are. And if you're strong enough not to look away, that's where your power begins. 3. You were meant to be dangerous. Most people want comfort. They want easy love, stable jobs, predictable lives. They want safety, not growth. But you were meant to become something far more dangerous. Stoicism was never about sitting in silence with a fake smile. It was a philosophy for warriors, forged in the battlefield of life. Epictetus was born a slave, literally, chained, beaten, and still. He built a mind no one could conquer. It's not what happens to you, he said, but how you react to it that matters. Rejection, that's your test, your training ground, your initiation into the mindset of someone who refuses to beg the world for scraps of love and approval. Let them say no. Let them shut the door. Let them pretend they didn't see your worth. Good. Now you have something to prove to yourself. 4. The alchemy of pain. Here's something they won't teach you in school. There's a kind of clarity that only comes after you've been broken. When you're rejected, the ego shatters. That version of you that needed to be chosen, liked, validated, it dies. And something colder, quieter, sharper takes its place. Not bitterness, not numbness, but a deep, silent strength. You stop chasing, you start attracting. Because rejection is a filter. It removes everything that isn't meant for you. People who don't want you, gone. Jobs that don't align with your path, eliminated. Dreams that weren't yours to begin with, burned. What's left is you, raw, real, unmasked. That's when things start moving. That's when people start asking, what changed? They don't know you were forged in the fire of rejection. They don't see the nights you doubted your worth, the mornings you woke up hollow and kept going anyway. They don't know that the pain they gave you, you turned it into fuel. 5. Obstacles are the way. One of the core Stoic beliefs is this: the obstacle is the way. It sounds like a riddle until you've lived it. You didn't get the girl? Now you have time to become the man who doesn't chase, because he's the prize. You got fired? Now you're free to build your own empire, one where no boss owns your time. You were ghosted, blocked, disrespected? Good. You just dodged a future filled with mediocrity. Everything they denied you gave you space to become better than them. That's the Stoic twist. Life's not happening to you. It's happening for you, even when it breaks your heart, especially then. 6. Silence is the best revenge. Let's talk about revenge for a moment. Not the Hollywood kind, the real one. You don't need to lash out. You don't need to prove anything to them. You just need to become so powerful, so untouchable, that their rejection becomes laughable. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." That means evolve, level up. Let their absence echo in the halls of your success. Let them wonder what happened to you. Let them stalk your profile and feel the gap between the person they rejected and the one you've become. And if they ever crawl back, smile, not out of spite, but because you don't need them anymore. 7. You're not supposed to be liked by everyone. Here's a truth that will set you free. If everyone likes you, you're doing something wrong. Powerful people polarize. They trigger envy, insecurity, resistance. Rejection isn't a failure, it's feedback. It shows you where you don't belong, where your energy is wasted, where your value isn't seen. The Stoics didn't chase approval. They lived by principles, internal, unshakable codes. They weren't guided by the opinions of others. They were anchored by truth. You should be the same, because once you stop fearing rejection, you become unstoppable. No more walking on eggshells. No more shrinking yourself to fit their box. You take up space, and you let the world deal with it. 8. You were never broken. You were being reforged. Let's bring this home. You weren't rejected because you were unworthy. You were rejected because life was making room for your evolution. You weren't discarded. You were redirected. What feels like loss now will become your legend later. That betrayal, that ghosting, that job you didn't get, it will be the chapter in your story where everything changed. You'll look back one day and say, "That was the moment I stopped asking for permission to be powerful. That was the exact fracture that forced me to rebuild with stone instead of straw. That was the burn that cauterized my weakness and revealed my edge." You'll realize that rejection didn't destroy you. It built you. It carved you into something sharper, something leaner, something real. It forced you to stop waiting, to start creating, to rise from the ashes of who you were and step fully into who you were meant to be, to become the kind of person who doesn't need validation because they've already given it to themselves, because they've tasted the silence and chose to keep walking anyway, because they learned that solitude was not a punishment, it was a forge, a crucible for the soul, where illusions melt and truth is born. So the next time someone slams a door in your face, smile, nod, and thank them silently. They didn't reject you. They released you. They didn't crush your future. They revealed it. And that was the beginning of everything. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, let me know by writing Stoic in the comments. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.